Hello, Lovelace, and welcome to our next science lesson on materials and their properties. Today, our focus is going to be on the properties of materials. What qualities do they have? What gives them the ability to be used for the objects that they're used for? For example, are they hard or soft? Are they flexible or rigid? Are they transparent or are they opaque? And so on and so on and so on. All the different qualities that materials have that make them useful for making different objects. Okay, so that's the aim for today. The mental building materials we're going to need, so the knowledge we're going to need is as follows. By the end of the lesson, I want you to know what a property is. I'd like you to be able to describe the properties of different materials. And I'd like you to be able to explain why certain materials suit a specific purpose. Okay, so yesterday we talked about all the different materials that surround us in our everyday life. Can you remember some of the materials we were talking about? Pause the video, have a quick think, and see if you can remember the 6 main materials that we discussed. Okay, hopefully you remembered all 6 of these. We mentioned wood, glass, rubber, plastic, metal, and clay. Now, what properties does each one have? What qualities do they have? Again, just pause the video and have a think for a moment. What's special about each of these things and why are they used for certain objects? Well, working through them, wood is very easy to shape, very easy to cut, so you can cut it to the shape you need. It's available all over. Anywhere where trees are grown, you're able to source wood. Wood can also be recycled. So old pieces of wooden furniture or wooden objects can be reshaped and reused in different ways. Wood is quite a cheap material, usually. There are expensive woods out there, but generally speaking, wood is quite a cheap material. It's very hard. It's easy to paint and decorate. It's easy to polish. So an incredibly useful material. Glass, obviously its main property is that it is transparent. You can see through it. Though there are coloured glasses which are translucent. So only part of the light will come through, or comes through in colour the same as the glass itself. Glass is rigid, it's a hard substance. It can be shaped. So glass can be blown into all sorts of shapes. That's why we get glasses and vases and jugs and bowls and all sorts of things made out of glass. Rubber is bendy. It's soft. You can impact onto rubber. You can hit things off rubber and do little damage. Rubber is often used to protect things. Again, it can be shaped quite easily. Plastic is hard, rigid, very easy to shape and mold. People can melt plastic and put it into any shape of mold they like. Plastic is an incredibly cheap material to work with. Unfortunately, it's not very good for the environment. We hear lots of talk about single-use plastics and plastics being found in our oceans. So there are some negative properties of plastic as well as all the positives as how easy it is to work with. Metal. There are lots of different metals out there, all with their own qualities. But generally, metal is a hard substance, usually quite heavy, easy to polish and keep clean, and easy to shape into the different shapes that you need. Clay, finally, again, in a wet state, is very easy to shape. Once it's dry or been fired, and it becomes very hard and resilient. So those are the 6 materials we mentioned yesterday. There are lots more, and they're just some of the properties that they have. I hope all that makes sense. Now, what I'd like you to do is to go around your home, or even from where you're sitting, look around your home and choose 6 materials, 6 different materials. Remember, not objects, materials. What I would like you to do then is to draw out a grid similar to this one and decide which property each of the materials have. Now, I'm just going to go through those keywords at the top to make sure we're all happy with what each one means. Hard means that the object is very difficult to reshape, change the shape. So it's a solid shape. It holds the shape it's in. Soft means it's malleable. It will change shape. You can squeeze it and change the shape of it. Smooth means you can run your finger over it and feel it and say, and it's not in any way sharp or raised. Rough, when you rub your finger across it, it's uneven. It may slow down your finger. Opaque means that we cannot see through it. No light passes through the object or through the material, say. Translucent, then some light will pass through, usually changing the color. Most translucent objects allow some light of certain colors through. And then transparent is it's completely clear and allows light to travel through freely. Okay, so we've got 7 properties there. Each material will have more than one of those properties, but just how many? As an example, you might choose something like metal, or you might be very specific. We talked yesterday about the general terms of materials, like metal, like wood. So if we choose metal and we are more specific, let's choose aluminium, which is a light metal, often used around the house. So if our material is aluminium, is it hard? Yes, it is. Is it soft? Now, although you can bend aluminium without a lot of force, it's not soft. You can't really squeeze it and change its shape easily. So it is hard, it's not soft. Is it smooth? Yes, it is. Machined aluminium used around the house is very smooth to the touch, usually with a polished surface. Is it rough? No. Sometimes, however, objects can break and create rough, sharp edges, but normally in its use, it will be smooth and not rough. Is aluminium opaque? Yes, it is. You can't see through it. It's a solid metal, so no light passes through it. Is it translucent or transparent? No. No light passes through, so it is neither translucent nor transparent. Okay, so aluminium is hard, is not soft, is smooth, is not rough, is opaque, but is not translucent or transparent. Okay, hopefully that's clear. Pause the video at this point and have a go at completing that grid yourself with 6 different materials that you can find around the house. Now, a few what-if questions, again, to do with the qualities or the properties of materials. Why we use certain things, certain materials for certain objects. Why is this helmet not made out of metal? Pause the video, have a think. Hopefully you would realize that a metal helmet would probably be quite heavy. So although it would give you the protection, so if things dropped on your head, a metal helmet would protect you, it would be very difficult to wear on your head all day long because it will be very, very heavy. Okay, so there's one reason. Why do we not build houses made of cloth? Pause the video and have a think. Hopefully, you would realize that building a house made out of cloth would be a pretty silly idea because the cloth does not hold its shape. If you tried to build a wall out of cloth, it would just collapse into a little pile, like your clothes do in the corner of your bedroom. Okay, so cloth is not a good material to build a house from because it's not rigid, it's not solid. Why are road cones made out of rubber? Pause, have a think. Well, unfortunately, road cones are used to divert and to guide traffic. And unfortunately, sometimes they get hit or clipped by the cars. And being rubber, it does very little damage to the car and very little damage to the cones. So the cones can just be stood up again and get on with doing their job of directing the traffic. So rubber is very, very resilient. It can take a few hits and it's not damaged and it doesn't damage the things that are hitting it, usually. Although I do know people who have hit a cone and it's got caught up under their car and done a lot of damage. But usually, if you hit a cone, you won't damage your car and you won't damage the cone. Why isn't the bottom of this jackhammer made of glass? Have a think. Well, clearly, a jackhammer like this is used to drill holes in the ground. So the tip, the bottom of it, needs to be incredibly hard to break up the concrete and the tarmac it's trying to drill through. So if it was made of glass, then the tip would shatter. It would break every time you turned it on and every time the tip hit the tarmac. So you would be spending lots and lots and lots and lots of money and time replacing all the glass tips because it would break every time you used it. So glass would not be a good idea. And finally, this water pipe is made of metal. What would happen if it was made of cardboard? Pause, have a think. Now, most of us will realize that cardboard is quite absorbent. If you've ever spilt water on an exercise book or on a cardboard box, the water soaks through and makes the cardboard all soggy. And so if there was water traveling through a cardboard pipe, then the pipe would get very, very soggy and eventually just break apart, allowing the water to spill all over the floor. So cardboard will be a very, very bad choice for making a water pipe because it doesn't have the qualities, it doesn't have the properties needed to keep the water inside. Now this water pipe is made of metal. Which other materials can you think of that could be used to make a water pipe? What materials can you think of that would keep the water inside and not allow it to seep through, not allow it to escape from the pipe? Have a think. So, to wrap up, the materials we choose to make different objects, that choice is really important. We need to understand how a material works and what qualities, what properties it has to see if it's suitable for making that particular object. Making a helmet out, making a safety hat out of metal would be a silly idea because it would be too heavy. Making a wall out of fabric, out of cloth, would be a silly idea. So if you do that, then you clearly don't understand the properties of the material. Okay, so that's it for today. I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.